Wait a second, so you mean the NSA, the CIA, the FBI, and other people inside the intelligence community can monitor our every move from our phones and other devices without us knowing it? No, they wouldn't be like that. They're the good guys. They'd never do that to us. Hey my dudes, how's it hanging? It's your boy, ZNF1 here. So today I wanted to discuss with you guys a project by the name of Mystic. Project Mystic is a program that has been run by the NSA, CIA, FBI, etc., etc. Many people inside the intelligence community, or at least variations of the original NSA-based intelligence surveillance program. Before we go on and get into this, let's cue intro. Alrighty, so the voice interception program called Project Mystic began in 2009 and reached full capacity to be used against the first target nation in 2011. Planning documents 2 years later found that there were similar operations going on elsewhere. And this is according to the Washington Post. In order to accomplish the surveillance state, or like the way of surveillance that these intelligence-based communities wanted, they used devices by the name of IMSI catchers. Now, IMSI catchers are devices that act as priority cell phone towers, and they basically intercept the signal that your phone is producing and capture all the metadata that it has. So basically who you're talking to, for how long, all the audio that's captured in it, where you might potentially be going. Basically most of the stuff your cell phone can do by factory default is generally what they can track from it.
They can be close enough to know when you left your house, what the license plate of the car you were driving with, where you went, who you sat with, how long you were there, when you left, where you went after that. That's metadata.
You don't even have to hack the phone at all. All you need is technology that is readily available, called an IMSI catcher, that can intercept your phone's metadata remotely.
Now, I do have a video that discusses about how the CIA in particular and Project Weeping Angel made the capability possible of being able to tap into microphones, especially in like Samsung smart TVs when they were first starting to come out. And I will leave a link for that up here. All of this invasion of privacy started in the aftermath of 9/11. Now, this mass surveillance went from just being used on terrorists in other countries, for like ones in Yemen and other places like that, which, I mean, arguably everybody would be okay with, you know, as long as it's on like targets of interest or like bad guys, so to speak, you know. Ultimately to being used in a more domestic setting, like on US citizens. And it didn't really matter what in this case, they just expanded the net to include whoever they could. Now, how they did this so quietly was through our phones.
Effectively a police state that's watching your every move. And everyone went, why?
Part of it is the fact that it happened invisibly. If a politician had said, we want to watch everybody in the country, people would have been up in arms about it. In the wake of September 11th, the Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, and his personal lawyer, David Addington, conspired with a number of top-level officials in the NSA and other agencies to change not only what they considered to be the legal restraints, but actually the culture of surveillance in the intelligence community. They moved from the exceptional surveillance to the surveillance of everyone. Technology has changed. Instead of sending people to follow you, we use the devices that you paid for, the services and the systems that surround you invisibly every day, to watch you on our behalf. Metadata is the fact that a communication occurred.
They do these unwarranted surveillances of US citizens and just citizens across the world in general through the offsprings of Project Mystic, or just like essentially projects that are very similar to it. One of them was called Project Shenanigans, and that was a joint venture between the CIA and the NSA, used to at first spy on people in Yemen for like terrorist attacks and stuff like that, which again we're all okay with. Then eventually moved from war front to home front, as Edward Snowden would say. After this, the FBI had their own aviation unit that would sit here and fly around cities to essentially survey the public to get, all this audio recording and everything on people. And ironically enough, it wasn't really like targets of interest. It was more protesters than it actually was people that were likely to become terrorists. Isn't that kind of fucked up?
Alaa Shahabi is a Bahraini activist who found herself the target of government surveillance.
In 2012, I was briefly arrested. Immediately after I was released, I received a string of 4 or 5 emails that were very suspicious to me. I suspected that this was a cyber attack, so I immediately sent the suspicious emails to my colleague Morgan at Citizen Lab. It actually turned out that this spyware was produced and operated by a British-German company called fishy.
Shocker, that a German/British hacking company that was aligned with the British government was, ultimately sitting here providing its service to get a activist fighting for human rights arrested. Man, that's never been done at all before, They're good guys. Government would never do that to people, or just sell it to the highest bidders. No, that's not a thing at all. Now, this software and like these projects, ultimately, they aren't being used in the name of stopping terrorism. They're being used for a profit gain and to keep those people in high positions of power in place.
There are a handful of key companies in Europe that are openly marketing, promoting, and selling these tools in arms exhibitions in European capitals. They are not being used in the name of tackling terrorism.
Now, to see exactly what type of information a hacked phone can yield, we contacted the same hacker who uncovered the Bahraini scandal and asked him to hack one of our own reporters, using the same type of software that targeted Alaa Shahabi's. We were able to completely commandeer Ben's phone, and he never knew it.
So you hacked his phone and you figured out who he called.
Right, and so, what we've got here is I can see, who he's calling and when he called them and how long the calls were. We can actually record his calls.
Wow.
So let's have a listen to them.
It was Orengi where we were 2 days ago. I think someone pulled up in a tuk-tuk and there was a bomb on the tuk-tuk.
This will also keep a list of Ben's web browsing history. And so, for instance, you can see here he's Google searching for BBC. You can see news articles that he's writing, checking his Twitter. It's sort of like reading someone's mind, because you can sort of see what they're thinking while they're on the internet. So we've been location tracking Ben. You can even get it to animate. And so it will show where Ben is at various sort of times. You can see him traveling around the city there. And you can tell exactly where he is.
Back in 2015, 2016, around the time I was in my final year of high school to graduating, Edward Snowden told Vice News Network that these programs had never been proven really to stop terrorism. The reason for that being is because the search net was way too wide, and they didn't narrow it down on key targets instead that showed signs of performing acts of terrorism.
We know for a fact that it is not effective for stopping terrorist attacks, and it never has been. Never has been.
Intelligence communities have the capabilities and the abilities to prevent attacks like the Boston Marathon bombing from happening. They have the data to apprehend the targets and ultimately stop it from happening. But they didn't, because their net was casted too wide, like I mentioned earlier. Now, following Edward Snowden's disclosures in 2013, the White House appointed 2 commissions to investigate this issue of mass surveillance. And ultimately, what they ended up finding after reviewing these classified documents was that this was not really something that needs to be done, and to the extent, especially that it was from 2001 to 2013 at the time when they were being conducted. They ultimately ended up making 42 recommendations of revisions to these programs going on in the intelligence communities.
They looked at the evidence, the classified evidence, and they found, wow, despite the fact that this has been going on since 2001, it had never stopped a single terrorist attack in the United States. And that's after monitoring the phone calls of everyone in the country. Everyone in the country.
Ultimately, the powers at the time only ended up accepting 3 of them. How fucked up is that? Like, seriously, out of 42 made by 2 White House board commissions to make changes, they only accepted 3 of them. That's really fucked up, you guys, and it shows you that they still have a lot of shit going on today. There has not been many revisions from what I have known, or from what I have gathered, and it still goes on today. But people are just like, oh no, it's okay, it's for our security. No, it's taking away your privacy and your freedoms that are supposed to be our rights, so to speak. I hope that watching this has set something aflame within you. The reason why I say that is because we ultimately cannot just sit here and do absolutely nothing when there's this corruption that's right in front of our faces, obviously brainwashing people and leading them astray. We have to do something else aside from just sharing memes and being complacent and being okay with having our liberties stripped from us. These are the rights that our ancestors died for. The fact of the matter is, if you just sit here and share memes and become complacent with things like these, like a lot of people are nowadays, and arguably the majority of people, you're just ultimately falling in line with the corruption, which will lead to a totalitarian state, or a state which nobody's going to be happy in. It's going to be in the hands of the rich and wealthy, and it's going to be the divide of wealthy and poor. There's not going to be no middle class anymore to separate the two. It's going to be just one side versus the other on a huge financial scale. With that being said though, my dudes, I do hope you guys found this video to be enjoyable. If you did, please don't forget to, like, share, comment, and subscribe. It really does mean a lot to me whenever you guys do this, and it helps to show me what you're enjoying that I'm putting out there. As usual, my dudes, please don't forget to, live long and prosper, and take care in peace. And absolutely keep it 1,000,000% real. I'll see you guys on the flip side.
I do what I want, don't matter if I get approval or not. Y'all ain't gonna cyberbully me or try to push on me until I'm becoming some dude who I'm not.